Good afternoon. Oh, you can do better than that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First and foremost, thank you very much for coming out for the kickoff to the internship presentations. A couple of housekeeping notes. Number one, no smoking. Number two, please take a moment right now to silence your cell phones. My students know that a cell phone going off in the middle of a presentation is cause for a 0. I don't want Professor Krause doing that to any of you. Well, most of you. As I mentioned, this is the kickoff in a series of internship presentations. Today you will hear 4 presentations. All 4 of these individuals did their internship with the Washington Wild Things. I'm not sure legally that was a good idea, but we'll let the courts work that out. In no particular order of importance, though in order that they are presenting, our presenters are Brett Gombita, Benicio DeFalco, Luke Andrusik, and Dean Shazer. Please put your hands together for our first presenter, Brett Gombita.
Wow. In baseball terms, today I am batting leadoff, not just for our group, but for the entire semester of internship presentations. And I'm here to tell you about my experience with the Washington Wild Things, an independent league baseball team playing in the Frontier League located in Washington, Pennsylvania. I worked 36 total games as a video production intern, 27 of which were as a primary cameraman. I have a game breakdown here of where I worked for each of the positions. Starting with first base, that is what's pictured there, one of my first games that I ever worked with the Washington Wild Things. I worked first base camera for 9 games where I focused on getting shots of right-handed batters and, of course, the games that they played in between innings on the field with the fans, as well as working high home, third base, and roaming camera. High home is located right underneath the press box. I worked that for 5 games. That's like the camera that you see on TV that follows the ball into play on any Major League Baseball broadcast, as well as third base, which had its own spot in the stands on the left field line up high. And then the roaming camera, which is kind of like what we have here with the Waynesburg University Sports Network. You can kind of walk around, get whatever shots you want. Of course, you can't go on the field during play, but you're able to go on the field during pregame, get close-up shots of the players, get shots of the fans, and kind of see how things run behind the scenes. Now, as for Point Streak, I worked that for 3 games under the supervision of Josh Klingon. Some of you may know him. He is the official stats keeper for the Washington Wild Things. But if he were to ever miss a game, I was ready and I was trained to take over that role. So I worked in that capacity for 3 games and scored. You couldn't take a pitch off. You had to score each pitch of the game. I also wrote the recap for 2 games. And honestly, these were the days where I was the most engaged within the game. Just as if I was broadcasting, I kept a scorecard for each game, highlighted key plays, and typed the recap as the game went on. As for replay, that is when you take the camera shots and put them on the video board, similar to what we have here in the truck with our sports network. Same thing with vMix. That is like if you're doing the switcher board here, you click the buttons, decide what cameras you want to use on the Jumbotron, and you also communicate with a headset to the cameras and tell them what shots to get. As for MixLR, that is the app that the broadcast airs on, audio only. I did that for 1 game where I played the commercial spots for the audio-only broadcast, communicated with the announcers, told them when to come back on air, and things like that. And then for the media guide, this is specifically something that the media relations interns did, but I was able to do it for 1 game as well. You work on player bios and finding out career high numbers for players, which were used in the 2025 Washington Wild Things media guide. The 2 people of main importance for my internship, first, Kyle Dawson, my boss. reported to him every day. When I got to the ballpark, he would tell me what role I was in for that specific game, whether it was verbally or whether he wrote it on a whiteboard. He is the announcer and vice president of baseball operations for the franchise, as well as a graduate of this program in the same class as Andy Stanko. Then there's Reese Clausen, the director. He told us cameraman what shots to get, communicated with us via headset, and after each game, you would meet with him and the other cameramen, say what you needed to work on, what you thought went well, and then you'd wake up again and do it the next day. As for my duties and responsibilities, I split this into 2 different slides: what you do before the game, and then what you do in-game and after the game. So first you would report to Kyle Dawson, where he would tell you what your role was for that specific day. And then about an hour and a half before each game, you would set up the cameras. And at first, so the cameras are different than what we have here at Waynesburg University, so I had to take a picture of the camera setup so I could remember it. But about 1 or 2 weeks later, it was pretty much just second nature. We had it down pat. And after we set up the cameras, we'd go eat. And then one other thing that I had to do on multiple occasions was I had to turn on the scoreboard and the pitch clock, mainly because I got there really early. I only lived 12 minutes away from EQT Park, so I would pretty much beat the pitch clock guy there every day, just go flick on the switch each time I arrived, right next to where I parked. And then another fun little tradition I had with Josh Klingen is I would read the lineups to him each day for him to put into the live stats software. It was just something fun to look forward to every day before each game to kind of just get your mind off of things. For in-game and post-game, the material that our cameras were used for was during the national anthem, for games between innings, and for instant replays. During the national anthem, each camera would take turns getting shots of the anthem singer, the American flag, the players, the fans. And then for games in between innings, they had specific games that you would play, like on the third base line during the third inning. It was called Copy Wild Thing, where they would bring five, 6 fans on the field, and they would have to copy the dance moves that the Wild Thing was doing. If I was the third base camera, I would be shooting that, and it would go on the video board. And then for instant replays, mainly this is for the high home camera that follows the ball into play so you can see it in case you missed it live. And at the same time as that, we had SD cards in our camera to record the entire game and say there was a highlight play. Like one time, Andrew Check hit a walk-off grand slam to win the game. After the game, you would go back, find that clip, and upload it to the Wild Things hard drive, and it could be used for future purposes like social media or in hype videos. And then after the game, you would tear down the cameras, meet with the director, Reese Clausen, and tell you what you could work on, what you could do better, what he thought you did well. And then I put a picture of the fireworks because each Friday, it was Fireworks Friday, and as you were breaking down your cameras, the stadium would go pitch black, but it would be lit up by those fireworks as you were tearing down those cameras. But the number one duty and responsibility we had as interns was to make it a memorable experience for the fans. With those games in between innings, you had the second inning fan cam and the fourth inning wildest fan of the night. Those are the times where the kids would be all up in your face, begging to get on the video board. And you had to put them on to make them feel good because that is what makes them want to come back to the ballpark. And that's the 2 slogans I have there. You can see it on the towel up there as well. We make forever fans, and this is your team. Those are the 2 slogans of the Washington Wild Things. And that's how you make fans, is by giving them those memorable experiences, putting them on the Jumbotron, interacting with them, giving them a smile, doing stuff like that. But of course, every internship comes with a few challenges. And the main challenge for me was, as the summer went on, less and less interns started showing up. The Waynesburg guys, we all needed to get way more hours than all these other schools. And once these other interns got their hours, they kind of just stopped showing up. And that meant that every day we were having to run a camera, and we weren't really able to work in other roles on a broadcast. And I know I signed up for video production intern, but I'm one of those people that likes to get as much experience as they can in all different areas of a broadcast. But with the less and less interns showing up, that took away from the chance to work in different roles. In the Home Team Network, this is something out of the Wild Things control. This is a Frontier League-wide issue. Well, not issue, but they had a robotic camera stream set up for the first time this year, which eliminated the opportunity for us to get actual broadcast experience. What we were doing was more in-house, and it was only shown on the video board compared to the previous interns who all got to work in live broadcasts. And then with about 2 weeks left in the season, the video board broke, and that eliminated 5 jobs. All 3 cameras, as well as the replay person and the director, were pretty much useless because there wasn't a video board to air their clips on. Here I have a couple examples of my work. This first video here is from an August 5th game against the Lake Erie Crushers, a pivotal game in the first place race between the Wild Things and the Crushers. And the Wild Things won in the 9th inning. As you can see, they're also wearing Happy Gilmore uniforms, which I thought was pretty cool. They had these theme nights. But we got the double play here to make it 2 outs in the top of the 9th. And then the final out of the game here, a strikeout to seal the deal and move the Wild Things into first place. They would end up finishing first place in their division. I thought these couple clips here really captured what I learned as a cameraman and were some of my best work throughout the internship. Here's an example of a recap I wrote. You see the headline, it says Wild Things win. The score says 3-3, so you might be wondering how they won, but the Frontier League rules for extra innings, the game can't go past the top of the 11th inning. It goes into a sudden death where the home team gets to elect kind of like a coin toss if they want to pitch or if they want to bat. And if you elect to pitch and get the other team out 3 outs, it means game over. So they won this game 3-3. I kind of explained it a little bit in the recap. That was a rule that I was aware of at the start of the internship, but at the end of this was the last game I worked actually, so I thought it was cool to see it happen at the very end. And then here's an example of what Point Streak would look like, the live stats scoring system. With a couple clicks of the keyboard, you were able to record outs, walks, hits, and errors. I also learned that this means hit and this means error. Just sitting next to some of the guys in the press box, some of the away announcers and the newspaper companies that were there covering the game. So it looks different though if you were to watch it. This is what Point Streak looks like on the website compared to what it looks like when you're actually doing it. So there are some examples of my work within the Washington Wild Things. I gained a lot of experience behind a camera and got more comfortable with the equipment. And I feel more comfortable now if that were the route that I would go post-graduation. I'm also glad to have completed an internship the summer after my sophomore year because now I have the summer after my junior year to possibly complete another one. And that's all I have. I'll open it up for questions.
For you personally, how were you able to manage the lack of interns and lack of rotation due to low numbers? How were you able to manage that emotionally and continue to go with each job?
Kind of just tell myself that I signed up for this. This is what I could possibly be doing in the future, and just to try and get as much experience as I could in the field.
When those 5 jobs went down, like what jobs were you left with? Were you able to like spread the wealth with the jobs and all the other interns, or was it kind of like lacking?
By that time, there weren't many other interns there anyways, so a lot of other roles were open, like working on the media guide or writing the recap, but the mobile cameras were still available as well.
Waitsburg and the Washington Wild Things have had a connection for several years, it appears, under the backdrop that an internship is supposed to set you up for the next stage of your career. Going forward, would you suggest this as an internship?
I would suggest it as an internship, but I would give them the forewarning that they're not going to be on the actual broadcast like prior interns were. They're just doing in-house stuff. All right, that's it. Thank you, guys. Next up is Benicio DeFalco, a former Keystone Oaks High School football player turned Washington Wild Things intern.